Well, howdy, howdy. Welcome, Power Partners. This is the informational barnyard of Starstyle, Be the Star You Are, brought to the airwaves under the auspices of Be the Star You Are charity. I am Cynthia Brian. And yes, I have been mucking up in the barn and in the barnyard today. So, oh my goodness, I'm a little bit achy, but I'm excited to bring this episode to you. It's always good to get outside when the weather is pleasant. It's definitely spring. Happy spring. And so many weeds. So I have to pull a lot of weeds and to feed all of my animals. Well, let me tell you what we're going to be about today on Star Style. We're going to be talking in the first segment about solo aging. And then in our second segment, about nighttime anxiety. Because 57% of single people who are aging depend on support from friends. So, how do solo agers develop their social networks and discover what they need to thrive as seniors? You're going to get that information coming right up. And is a busy brain keeping you awake at night? You might toss, turn, can't fall asleep. Or maybe like so many people, and so many of my friends, we're having a discussion about that this week. Wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning every single morning and have a hard time getting back to sleep. So is it anxiety? How can we temper it? We're going to talk about some tips that can halt those racing thoughts. The miracle moment for today brought to you as always by Be the Star You Are. Please visit the website bethestaryouare.org. We're excited to let you know that Be the Star You Are has been honored as a top nonprofit for 2026. I don't know how many years, it's consecutive years, ever since Guide Star, which is now called Candid, and top nonprofit, great nonprofits, started this honor system. Be the Star You Are has won a place in there. So it's thank you to all of you that think that we're doing a good job. We're trying. We really work hard at it. Well, this is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Trust thyself. Every heart vibrates to that iron string. I like that. I really believe that when we believe in ourselves and all the possibilities, all the good things happen in life. And again, the website for Be the Star You Are is bethestaryouare.org. All right, we're going to talk about aging and when you are living alone, which it is interesting how many people are. Now, so much of the information that I'm bringing you today, it's come from many places, but some of it is from AARP, which is a great organization for people 50 and older. They do a lot of research on different things. And I just find it interesting because, our goal is, you want to be healthy and happy and live to 100. I mean, I have three aunts that are on the cusp and they are all living alone, which is amazing. So that means that another generation, we should be able to do it too. But in 1950, just 9% of all US adults lived by themselves. Now, today, 1 in 5 Americans that are 50 to 54 and 1 in 3 that are at 55 to 74 are living on their own. And that is according to the US Census data. So by 2038, the majority of people who are 80 and older will be about 10 million. And that 10 million will be solo, they call it solo agers. And that's from Harvard University. I have a lot of research in this that we're talking about today. So I'm going to give you all of that. So what's fueling this phenomenon? Well, there's big changes in how we as Americans live, love, age. And they include lower marriage rates, more gray divorces, which are divorces that happen when you are older, when your hair is gray and you've been together a long time and you decide, hey, I want out. And then, of course, marital separations. Also, we have greater longevity and less poverty, along with older adults' desire to age in place. And there is an increase in childlessness. People are not having kids as they were before. And so families are smaller and also they're more far flung. It used to be you stayed kind of in your own village, your own town, but there's a gender gap among solar agers too. In 2023, 1 in 3 older women and 1 in 5 older men lived alone, and that was according to the federal government statistics. Women live longer, but are also more likely to stay single after being divorced or widowed. And there was a 2022 study from Bowling Green State University, and it found that men 55 and older are more than twice as likely as women to remarry, and other research suggests that they're choosing younger spouses. And I'm sure that if you're listening to this now, you can probably vouch for that. I have had several acquaintances and friends who have lost their spouse or their partner. And the interesting thing is, the women seem to decide they want to stay single, spend more time with whatever family and a lot of time with friends. And they're not really looking for a romantic partner or anybody to, just to be with. They have plenty of companions. Whereas the men that I know, literally within 1 month, 2 months, 3 months of their partner or spouse's death, they are ready to cohabitate or get married to somebody else. A lot of them have said, well, they want somebody that's going to cook and clean and do all those things. I mean, it makes me a little crazy, but everybody, to each his own, right? To each his own. Well, but despite the numbers, solo agers are often misunderstood and sometimes they're invisible. I mean, older adults who live alone are actually generally healthier. They're more cognitive, they're more capable when it comes to, their brain function. And they're more socially connected than the broad group of older people living with their spouse or living with their adult children. And the reason for that is because they have to be. And that was a study done by Harvard Medical School. Now, the other side of that coin is they might be more vulnerable when anything happens because they might not have, that live-in support system. But until recently, our knowledge of the experience of older adults living alone was really limited. And now we are getting a lot more information and understanding that people who are living alone are receiving lots of support from relatives, friends, neighbors, and many solar agers are thinking and are thinking, ahead, and they have less memory problems, and they are extremely happy. So a couple of, they did a study to see like what was the most, like the sentence that most people said, and it was, living on your own can be exhilarating and deeply satisfying. Oh, the freedom. So freedom seemed to be the number one thing that most people said. And actually, it was the majority of women said, oh, the freedom. But what really are the best parts of solar aging for everybody? Well, for 1 in 3 survey respondents, it is freedom and autonomy. 16% said the best part is independence. So what they're trying to say is that they don't have to depend on anybody. It's like they just, if they want to eat dinner, they do. If they don't want to cook, they don't. If they want to go to a movie, they do. They just do their own thing. But it's very important that they make time for social connections. And this is a big priority for everyone because those are other statistics that show that we really, as humans, we have to be connected to other people in order to be healthy. Now, in contrast, 57% of solar agers, they turn to friends for support and guidance, as opposed to you know, earlier on turning to a partner or a spouse. You never know when you help people just by being there and listening. And that's something that's important to everyone is just to listen. Now, people on their own, they need their own social networks because being alone does have its challenges. Many of the survey participants that were in this ARP survey, they said they missed having someone around to help with like opening jars or household repairs or climbing a ladder and yard work. And for those things, when I read that, I had to laugh because there are services out there. And I actually now subscribe to one of those services called Honey Homes. And I love it so much because you get a handyman person who can help you with anything that you want, climbing those ladders, putting in landscape, irrigation, uh, furnaces, whatever it is. So to me, that isn't a challenge if you had to be a solo or a solo ager. Now, of course, uh, a negative thing is if something happens to you when you're by yourself, that could be difficult. That would be an emergency. If you get sick and there's no one there to provide help, that would be hard. And I do I do know a couple of people who were living on their own and had a medical emergency and didn't have anyone there, and that didn't turn out so well. So, there is the downside, but I know like with my aunt, I just had a lunch with her the other day, and she looks great, and she's mobile and active and vibrant and really with it and really beautiful. And she has one of those, I don't even know what it's called, but she wears a thing around her neck because she lives alone. And if something happens, like if she falls, it sends a message, I think to the fire department or somebody that she needs help. Now, without a strong network of family, friends, neighbors, or other caregivers, people who are living alone can face increasing difficulties. So we do have to look at that. People aging alone are less likely to get all of their care needs met as they age, and whether that is help with transportation, chores, basic health needs, or mobility. And those little needs, they can really stack up because if you can't get to the doctor, any medical condition or vision or hearing problem, it could go undiagnosed. Now, in 2021, UC San Francisco, which has a great medical school, did a study of 4,772 agers, and 38% couldn't identify friends, family, or neighbors to help them with daily needs. So that means when there's a major health shock, like a heart attack, a stroke, a cancer diagnosis, or, anything, COVID, they would be more likely to end up in a nursing home for a prolonged stay. And nobody wants to think that they're going to get sick and need help, but it is it's inevitable. So to continue living independently, it's so critical to build a social net support, and that can make a huge difference. I know, I mean, I'm with my family and my husband. However, I have girlfriends who are single, and I also have friends that we've just decided that, if our spouses or partners can't help us, we're going to help each other. So we've already created a network, even though we have partners. So that's an important thing to create your network, people that you can depend on, whatever time of day or night. Because, some families are estranged or they might live far away. And friends, especially when you get older, so many people have died, or they might have their own health issues. And neighbors may not realize the extent of their needs, or they might rarely see them outside. And so there are a lot of things to think about. And again, you have to just decide for yourself what's going to be the best way to go. Now, handling money could be a major concern because these survey take, the people that took the surveys, they did feel a pinch of financial worries. More than half of people 50 to 64 described their financial situation as fair to poor. That's really awful, as did nearly 40% that were older than that. And their concerns were financial security, paying the bills. And as people age, they tend to worry about, am I going to run out of money? So when the U.S. Census Bureau looked at the poverty in 2021, 63% of people in poverty were seniors who were living alone. That's really big. And since they don't share the cost of housing and utilities with a partner, solo agers are twice as likely to say their money doesn't stretch to cover their basic needs. So you really have to set up a financial plan. And if you are in your 20s or 30s or 40s now, start doing it now because, the goal is to get old. You want to have as many birthdays as you possibly can. And so you need to have a financial plan. You need to have a designated healthcare advocate. You need to have an established power of attorney. And a lot of people, if they're single or they're just alone, they don't have those things. So they don't see themselves as people being served by financial planners. But you know what? Anybody can get their needs met by getting their finances in order. So the most important thing, as I wrap this up, is to say that without the built-in safety net of a loved one in the house or nearby, tackling the challenges of aging, we have to know how to stay connected. You have to decide what makes you happy. When asked what brought joy, solo agers said spending time with friends. I'll just list it in the order of how important it was. Having hobbies and interests, spending time with family, religion and spirituality. A lot of people really get a lot of connections through their churches, their mosques, or their temples. Spending time with pets. Pets are wonderful companions. And volunteering, helping others and volunteering. I think that this really rated high because you meet a lot of people and you connect that way. And then some people are actually just still, doing some side jobs and working. So that you don't have to be lonely as you age. You can stay connected because loneliness is not just an unpleasant feeling. It is linked to negative health consequences, including higher risk of developing dementia, depression, even heart disease, and it is costly for taxpayers as well. So, you really want to stay connected, stay involved, and get your community of friends, family. So basically what you're doing is you're creating a chosen family. So if you don't have family nearby, you can have a group of friends from wherever you meet them. So the bottom line is get involved. And if you become a solo ager, know that it can be a very positive, uplifting, wonderful experience, and you can be cognitively aware and very much engaged in the world. Well, you're listening to Cynthia Brian. This is Star Style. Be the star you are. I'll be right back with our second segment, so don't go away. Well, we're back. I'm Cynthia Brian, and you're listening to Star Style Be the Star You Are. We're coming to you on Voice America Media. We're on the Empowerment Channel, and I'm with you with a new program every Wednesday, wherever you want to listen to your radio shows or podcasts. Well, I'm sure that everybody gets anxiety or sleepless nights, whatever it is, from time to time. And sweet dreams can be like a pipe dream when you wake up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. and you just can't stop worrying about something. I know it happens to me when I know that I have a really busy day the next day, or when I have contracts that need to be signed, or I'm just not sure, what appointment I'm going to say yes to. And or sometimes it's like, how do I say no for something that I've been invited to? Whatever it is, so we cannot stop worrying sometimes about all the work that we have to do. Maybe it's the bills that need to get paid and we don't have the money in our account. Or maybe we had an argument with a friend or a family member and we're feeling really, kind of crummy about that. Or maybe we just have this feeling that we're going to die because we're not getting enough sleep. And I know sometimes when I've woken up, I look at the clock and I'll just think, oh, it's 4 o'clock. Okay, I have 2 more hours. And then then you're looking at the clock at 4:10 and 4:15 and 4:20, and you're not getting the sleep you need for the next couple of hours. Well, what experts say is that everyone, or almost everyone, experiences this kind of middle of the night panic or anxiety at some point. And the most basic and common reason that we get anxious at night is because of the decrease in the amount of distractions and activities that we have going on. Because we're just, in our bed with a cover and we have our pillow and you're kind of comfortable and you're not being really active. So our mind goes off the road and there's kind of nothing to guide us and keep us on track and focused or feeling productive. So what should you do about your racing thoughts at night when you are thrashing around and you keep looking at the clock like I do until the sun comes up? Do you get up? Do you go open your laptop? Do you go read a book? What is the best thing that you can do? Well, we're going to talk about a few things that you can do. Now, these are just steps. They're actually from UCLA Medical Center. Um, but they might not be what is going to work for everybody. So a lot of times, like I just do really deep breathing and, inhale through my nose and exhale through my mouth. And I just try to clear my mind. But that doesn't work for everybody. It does work for me most of the time because, a monkey brain, it just is an anxious brain. And so deep breathing seems to help me a lot. But here are some ways that you might be able to soothe your nighttime anxiety. The first thing is to carve out worry time. That sounds interesting, doesn't it? Before bed, spend like 5 minutes making two lists. On one, write down everything you worried about that's written that might be in your control. And if you're like me, I mean, I think so fast that my beautiful handwriting has now become kind of like doctor-like illegible. So it's easier to do it on my computer. So if I feel like I'm going to have an anxious night, I will write down something on my computer and I'll write everything I'm worried about that that is within my control on a piece of paper. Oh, well, on my computer. And then I take another page or I half the page in half, and I write down the things that I can't do anything about. It's like lately here in California, getting insurance for your home insurance is really difficult because of the fires. And so they have something called the California Fair Plan, which is super expensive. I mean, unbelievably expensive. And it does not cover anything except fire. So if you have a flood, if you have a burglary, it doesn't cover it. And so I've been, that's been one of my worries lately because we, at our place, we have to get the fair plan and they come out and they look at your house. And, I had to cut some branches off a tree, but I've done everything, absolutely everything they asked. And they're still coming back and asking more. So it does keep me up at night. So the first thing that I have to do then is say, that's out of my control. I can do what they tell me to do, but it's out of my control whether they're going to give me the insurance or not. So when you have something like this, you just have to tell your brain, okay, I heard you. I don't want these things to be unfinished either. All right. There's nothing I can do about it. So I'm just going to go to sleep. So leave me alone. Just leave me alone because your brain will be content that the situation has at least been acknowledged. I mean, and that again comes from UCLA. So uh, then I do my deep breathing. The second thing you could do is tap into your senses, is keep something textured by your bed, like maybe, a river stone that's real smooth or a shell, something that you can touch as soon as you get anxious. I always keep a bottle of water by my bed as well, because sipping on cool water or maybe even listening to some soft ambient music, or you could find another way to ground yourself. But the thing is to use your five senses. For many people, the sensation of, I love the feel of my bed sheets and I like the room to be cool and then I have a blanket over me, and then that just kind of signals to me that that I should be sleeping. So as long as I have some air circulating and I feel like it's cool in the room, I'm not too hot, I'm not sweating, I'm going to feel okay. So that's part of the senses. And sometimes we dismiss the power of our own sensitivity. So anchor yourself in the present moment, and that can pull your mind away from those spiraling thoughts, and then you'll probably feel more at ease. But sometimes you got to do the next thing, which is get out of bed. Sometimes, if you just stay under the covers, it can reinforce the association between the stress and the bed. And if you don't know you're not going to fall asleep in the next, 15, 20 minutes, just get up. Usually, if you relocate to another room, so maybe just go do something that you might have been ruminating about, whether it was folding clothes or putting the dishes away. But keep the lights low, because if you put on a bright light, it's going to signal to your brain that it's time to wake up. So you have to train yourself that bedroom is for sleeping, not a place where anxiety gets to rear its ugly head. Another thing you could do is keep a comfort script nearby. I know that might sound a little strange, but if you're prone to jotting awake in panic, kind of, if you have something that will help ground you, that would be good. You might have something written down that where you look at it and say it to be a note, okay, I'll deal with this tomorrow. It's not a big deal. It's not, I'm making too much out of it. Everything's going to be okay. It's time for me to go to sleep. Something like that. You can make up your own or just have a mantra, something that is going to be reasonable and rational and calm you. And then the last thing is you could reframe how you think about waking up. And if you've been tossing and turning for hours, you'll probably become even more anxious with the idea that your exhaustion is going to ruin the next day. I mean, that's my thing. If I am waking up and I think, oh my gosh, I got to be up in 2 hours and then I've got a 15-hour day, I get more stressed out. So reframe that, catastrophic thinking and put less pressure on yourself by just saying that you are going to get enough rest. That kind of goes with your script is I'm going to enjoy this moment of calm. I'm going to let my body relax. I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to be absolutely fine tomorrow. Well, I hope that was helpful. That is the show for today. Make sure you're tuned right here on Voice America Media. Every week, again, new shows every Wednesday, but you can find Star Style, Be the Star You Are, wherever you listen to your podcasts. I really enjoy bringing you some news. Hopefully, you can change your life and make your dreams come true. For more information about Star Style Productions, or if you're interested in finding out about any of the books that I write, some of them might help you get to sleep. You can visit cynthiabrian.com. That's Brian with an I. If you're interested in knowing more about Be the Star You Are charity, visit bethestarur.org. My aim is always to encourage, inspire, inform, amuse, and motivate you to be your best self. I want you to see beyond your physical being, know you are already the star you dreamed of becoming. Cherish the past, dream of the future, and celebrate every moment of your life. And until next week, when we celebrate again here in this playground, this barnyard, I want to thank Jordan, my engineer, for always making me sound good and also engineering the teen show. I really appreciate it, Jordan. Please remember that love always wins, kindness always prevails, and smiles will keep us happy. I'm Cynthia Brian for Star Style, thanking you and reminding you be kind, be inclusive, tell the truth, live with integrity, embrace cultures, love unconditionally, encourage others, be generous, read, lead, succeed, communicate, collaborate, innovate, and most of all, be your unapologetically authentic self because everyone counts. That's a lot of things that I'm encouraging you to do. But when you do that, you will be the star you are. Thanks for joining me, and we'll be together next week. Be cool.